Today on the 10-12 podcast, I'm joined by Hayley Lewis of Kansas City Sports Network to talk about the latest in the Big 12 men's and women's basketball tournaments, the Big 12 men's basketball awards, and some news from around the conference, talking about wrestling, indoor track and field, and why you need to visit Charlie Hustle's pop-up shop.
It's only a kick, a jump, a block. It's only a serve. It's only a tackle, a run. It's only for the fans. After all, it's only pressure. You got this. Adidas.
This episode is brought to you by Hyperice, the leader in advanced warm-up and recovery technology. They have tons of innovative products, like Venom-heated wearables to help soothe sore back muscles, Normatec compression boots to speed up recovery and increase circulation, and Hypervolt massage guns to improve mobility. Loved by athletes like Naomi Osaka and Erling Haaland. Try them yourself. Get 10% off your order with the code MOVE at hyperice.com.
Welcome to the 10-12, the podcast that covers all 14 teams in the Big 12 Conference, plus Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. We are the flagship show of the 10-12 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com. And we are partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. I'm your host, Phillip Slavin. Thank you for joining us on this Monday. Folks, we are in the eye of the storm right now. Big 12 Wrestling Championship is wrapping up this evening. I would love to talk about the results of it, but it's not going to be done in time. Seems likely Iowa State's going to win their first Big 12 title in, I think, 15 years. Pin 12 podcast, PIN12 podcast. Our wrestling show will have you covered there. Baseball and softball are going strong. Plenty of crazy series. Undefeated TCU just lost a series to Kansas. We'll talk softball on Thursday. Let's see. We've got the women's championship that took Sunday off because BYU, so we have some games to talk about coming up. We have the men's championship that's about to start this week. Oh, and the regular season just wrapped, and we got the postseason awards. What else am I missing? Like I feel like I had a list 20 long. Oh, Texas Tech just won the men's indoor track and field national championship. Congratulations, Texas Tech. So you can understand why at this particular moment, I might be a slight bit frazzled. Oh, by the way, every podcast episode is someone's first. I have 3 kids. They're 5 and under. So we're going to do our best today to get to as much as we can. But it might be a little bit more scatterplot than we usually are. And I don't have my usual co-hosts. Jamie is in Kansas City with Iowa State, covering Iowa State, for the tournament, and so she is unavailable tonight. Andy is at home, sick, no voice, so Andy is not available. I am not alone. You're welcome. I tried very hard to make sure we had a quality guest. We always have a quality guest. We are very excited to welcome Hayley Lewis back to the show. Hayley, of course, if you pay attention to Big 12. Now on ESPN Plus, handles the Big 12 show during football season, and you can also see her or hear her. I don't remember if KC Sports Network is video. I know there's audio platform. I've seen you videos show up on Twitter, so I assume that there is a YouTube channel as well. But Hayley, welcome back.
Appreciate you having me. And like you said, scatterbrained. I don't have the children, so I don't really have a great excuse for being so tired, except for the fact that, like, did we save the daylight? Did we do what we were supposed to do? You took my extra hour of sleep. I'm tired, and it's just, it's just one of those weeks. Like you said, this is the culmination of when all the sports just cluster over and people are like, oh, you got through football season, you're fine. Like, this is your downtime. I'm like, no, this is the worst time. This is when everything overlaps and everything coincides, and you're just trying to keep your brain on until you can get through the NFL draft. So I feel you. I don't have the extent of responsibilities that you do, my friend, but yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and Big 12 has encompasses just so many things and so many great athletes, and Kansas City's popping. I'll tell you that. I was downtown. I can barely get around anywhere outside, so I'm not leaving my apartment. But it is definitely busy here in KC, and for good reason. Got to go to one of the women's games. Pumped about that. Got a lot going on with the men's games this week, so we're staying busy. We're staying busy, but for good reason, right?
If you're in Kansas City, by the way, it's all relative. I don't ever blame anyone for also being busy without kids. I remember what life was like when I didn't have kids. We all fill our time in different ways. I have my time filled for me now. I just don't have as many choices in the matter. If you are in Kansas City this week now, or plan to be this week for the men's tournament, do not forget to stop by the Charlie Hustle pop-up shop there in the Power and Lights District. Hayley, you're gonna have to go by. I'm gonna urge
I already
you.
have everything set up. I have a whole collaboration set up. I cannot wait to go. I'm going to go in there before I go to the game. Actually, tomorrow night with Charlie Hustle, we have a VIP kickoff that we're doing with everyone from Big 12 and everyone from Charlie Hustle getting together for this thing to kind of kick off the men's tournament. But yeah, Charlie Hustle, like, not only do I love them on a personal level, their owners are amazing. I've gotten to work with them many times, not only through the Chiefs, but also through Big 12. They're just a good KC-based company, and they make good stuff. It's actually cute. Not to bring up anything, kind of too sad here, but after the mass shooting we had here in KC at the parade, they were like one of the first companies here in Kansas City to put out a T-shirt giving all the funds to the victims of that shooting. So good people, good place. Also, the pop-up super cute. So if you're gonna be in KC, you gotta go there. If you're gonna go to the games, they have plenty of gear. And for my ladies who don't really want to necessarily like sport the jersey, it's a really good trade-off, and also for the fellas, it's a good trade-off. You can find some cute stuff that also supports your team for a good cause. So they're good people there.
They are. We love partnering with Charlie Hustle because they launched a bunch of new basketball-specific gear for every Big 12 school so that you can be prepared for this weekend, this week, the Big 12 tournament, the NCAA tournament. They've got stuff for every school. They've got Cincinnati gear on the site now. It is basketball specific. They'll add more, but they wanted to make sure they had something so that you would have something to wear. The BYU t-shirt is fantastic. Oh my goodness, I can't even remember all of it. Oh, they've got Big 12 specific gear, by the way. There is a Big 12 varsity jacket. I'm just going to let everybody know there's a Big 12 varsity jacket. I may or may not have one show up at some point in this week in the mail for me, and we're looking forward to it. They've got a Big 12 championship t-shirt. The Beware the Fog shirt is great. The Bring the Doom shirt. By the way, Iowa State fans, listen, they made a Hilton South t-shirt with the charging Cy, the one where he is angrily running at you with the basketball. It says Hilton South. Y'all know. Y'all get it. So go to charliehustle.com. There is a whole selection of Big 12 gear. They've got something for every single current Big 12 school. They've got some quarter zips for Kansas. They got the sexy leg Jayhawk and on a quarter zip on a light blue clip. It's fantastic. So go to charliehustle.com. If you can't visit the pop-up shop in Kansas City this week, don't worry. The website will serve you just as well. Go to charliehustle.com. Use that promo code 101215, TEN1215 for 15% off all non-sale items. That's TEN1215. The Texas Tech shirt, the toughest team win shirt, is fantastic. This collection they dropped. Mm-hmm. There's a Fear the Fronds for UCF fans. This collection they just dropped for this week, these next few weeks, is absolutely fantastic. The Big 12 specific gear is great. Just go to the website. Go to charliehustle.com. There's a Big 12 conference button. You're going to click it, and you're just going to scroll through pages and pages and pages of fantastic stuff. They've got sales and promos and deals. The Big 12 Days of Hustle. They've got deals every day. So if you're in Kansas City this week, go to the pop-up shop in the Power and Lights District. If you're not, go to the website. Get yourself equipped, ready to go for the rest of the basketball season, the pinnacle, the peak of it, March Madness, Big 12 tournament. I mean, Big 12 tournament's on par with March Madness. It's stupid. It's stupid how many teams we have in there. You're like, oh, like the last bracketology I saw, we'll talk about it. It's like, oh yeah, 9 teams. 9 teams. This is going to be great. All right, so charliehustle.com, Charlie Hustle, Vintage Made Fresh, our friends, 10, 12, 15 for 15% off all non-sale items. All right, I forgot to shout out TCU Rifle, bringing home another national championship. I know that TCU Rifle isn't technically in the Big 12. Big 12 doesn't sponsor Rifle, but TCU and West Virginia both have Rifle teams, and I have a family member by marriage who actually was on the last TCU national championship team, so I pay close attention as best as I can. Okay. If I missed anything, I apologize. I could go through Big 12 baseball and softball scores. I don't think anybody really wants me to go through all that, so I won't break all those down. Let's start on the women's side. We will get to the men's here in just a second. I want to get to the women's. 2 games today, Monday, the day this episode drops. We've got Iowa State versus Oklahoma. We've got Kansas State versus Texas. I said it on Twitter. I'll say it again. This is not an anti-Oklahoma or Texas thing. I know most Big 12 fans are like, it is for us. Like, I get it. OU and Texas leaving. We don't really want to see OU and Texas in the championship game of the women's tournament. But I would love a Farmageddon rematch because we have yet to really get a great one with a fully healthy both team rosters. That's what I would like to see. Also, I do. I want to see healthy Aoka Lee. I want to see healthy Kansas State versus healthy Iowa State. That's a matchup that I was very excited about for the regular season. We kind of got robbed from it. We didn't get Aoka Lee in the first matchup. We got brought back probably too early Aoka Lee for the second matchup. I want to see 2 healthy teams face off. That's what I want to see in the championship game. It's not an anti-Oklahoma Texas thing. If you want to think it is, that's fine. Sorry, Longhorn Republic. Sorry, Gerald. Sorry, Kyle. I know you guys feel hurt. I love you very much. I want to see a healthy Farmageddon. And again, we talked about this last week when it came to bracketology for the women's side. Mm-hmm. We want to see a couple of 4 seeds. We want to see some Big 12 teams host. Iowa State's not going to get there. Baylor's not going to get there now that they have lost to Iowa State. Oklahoma with a win could get to a host spot, but Kansas State with a Big 12 championship, because it is so early and it will have a big impact on seeding, this Kansas State team is so good. I really do believe Kansas State, healthy, hosting the first round at home, gives them an opportunity to make a deep run, the kind of run we thought this team could make before Aoka Lee went down earlier in the season. So I'm kind of rooting for, can Kansas State make a deep run in the women's tournament? I think Texas isn't, if Texas wins the Big 12, this is what all is on the line here. Texas winning the Big 12 could boost them into the 1 seed. That's what that impact could be. Kansas State or Oklahoma winning the Big 12 championship could boost them up to the 4 seed. That means hosting. Iowa State, I think the win over Baylor should lock them in. Winning out the rest of the way is going to make sure that they make it. Every team playing is fighting for something. Probably more seeding along with the Big 12 championship. Improved seeding along with the Big 12 championship. So they've all got something to play for besides just pride. I cannot wait for the 2 games today. Iowa State, Oklahoma at 1:30. Texas, Kansas State at 4. I've talked for way too long. Hayley, what are your thoughts?
You're all good, man. Yeah, this is an exciting one. I mean, it's exciting for a lot of reasons. And yeah, I used to cover local news. And so we covered K-State, Kansas a little more closely. So, Aoka Lee is something that we have talked about Lee for so long. And just because of the probability of what she was going to be, what she became, and what she now is. And then, seeing her throughout the tournament, just be able to pick up, right, 3rd player in the Big 12 history to reach 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 300 blocks in a career. That's insane. The new heights that she continues to reach are just incredible. And to be able to see that the clout that comes with it, the attention, the eyes that are coming on it in women's basketball. I'm kind of sad that Jamie's not on here to be able to talk about these things because it's incredible to see. And then, it's the first year that it's at the T-Mobile Center, which it should. I'm so happy that they have finally pushed to have the women's tournament at the T-Mobile Center. They are playing where the men are playing. They have an audience, or the ability to have a bigger audience. And the Big 12 actually put this out yesterday, I believe, that this was the largest attendance that they've ever seen for a women's basketball or Big 12 women's tournament since 2013. So it's been a while since they've seen this kind of influx of fans coming in. And in Kansas City, they're showing up and supporting. And I know that there are local schools a little bit closer here, but it's very cool to see that this is the influx and the notoriety that they deserve is kind of coming their way. I will say with you, K-State, they have a lot to lose, but they also have a lot to gain if they're able to continue doing what they've been doing. So I'm obviously rooting for the Wildcats. It would be really cool to see. You mentioned it. And I was kind of going through the bracketology just to kind of stay up on this. And, Texas, they get that 2 seed, Oklahoma with a 4, K-State maybe a 5 is what they're saying right now. But to your point, if they can continue in the tournament, then this is a really big opportunity for them to be in the race there. So that's a great way for them to put themselves in the conversation. And then those are always the teams that people love to follow and love to continue to see do well in March Madness. So there's a lot of cool things going on. I got to go to, now they're both not in it anymore, West Virginia and Cincy. That was the game I went to earlier. But again, like I was saying earlier, the hype in Kansas City, everyone getting excited for this. It's really cool to see because it was an incredible crowd for a women's basketball game on a Friday night before any of the tournaments really getting into the thick of it, and I forgot the whole BYU thing on Sunday. I completely forgot that was a thing. So that's why the whole schedule's been, kind of changing this year. But what I will kind of tee you up on is maybe just like looking forward to next season. I'm even more stoked to see the new additions come in because of how the 4 newcomers have already done this season, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm pulling up Charlie Cream's most recent bracketology that came this morning, Sunday morning. No. His most recent one was Friday. So we'll obviously, no, I'm sorry. I've got 800 tabs open. I was like, that's not right. It was Sunday morning at 1:30 Eastern. So obviously a lot of games that are going to happen, they're going to have an impact. At the moment, he has Kansas State as a 5. He has Texas as a 1, and he has Oklahoma as a 4. So again, 3 1s are locked in with Iowa, Stanford, and South Carolina. That 4th one is up for grabs. Texas is kind of in it with Ohio State, LSU, UCLA, USC. So they've got a lot to fight for. Kansas State is a 5. It feels like they keep moving up as to which 5 they are. If they can get to a 4 seed, that is a positive. That is an absolute positive. And so as long as they can avoid whatever bracket South Carolina's in would also be fantastic. So, and Oklahoma right now is a 4. So they all have something to play for. It's just going to make today's games that much more exciting. And obviously the championship game on Tuesday as well. Okay. Going to have more talk about that. Obviously, we'll have Selection Sunday and Selection Monday. Next weekend, we'll have, next weekend show is going to be just fun. Just fun. Just fun. All right, right? You're just like, we're at the baseball championships happening. Like, wait, doesn't that mean that yeah.
It's here.
Yeah, it's almost here. Okay, we'll talk about the men's bracket here in a second out of the set, but I do want to touch on the basketball awards that came out on Sunday. No surprise here. Jamal Sheed of Houston is both the player of the year and the defensive player of the year. He is absolutely incredible season. He was the only unanimous first teamer. Rest of the awards, newcomer of the year is to Hunter Dickinson. Freshman of the year was to Jacoby Walter. Sixth man of the year was Jackson Robinson of BYU. Most improved player was Dylan Disu from Texas. And coach of the year was Kelvin Sampson. I don't have any complaints with any of them. I don't. Nothing where I'm going to be like, I can't believe. I don't think anyone's going to complain about Kelvin Sampson. I am going to note, just based off of comments I'd seen before he was announced, it is not surprising in the least that Kelvin Sampson was named coach of the year. To come into the Big 12 in their first season, Houston, and I don't care. I don't care about any of the excuses. To win this conference by 2 games, the best conference in college basketball, in a year where it was still the best conference in college basketball, and to win it by 2 games in their first year in the conference. Yeah, you're going to win coach of the year. Hands down. Period. End of story. I get it. I understand what Grant McCasland has done in his first season at Texas Tech. That has been fantastic. I understand what Otzelberger has done at Iowa State this year and the finish that they had. I get all those things. Those two are, I understand what Mark Pope has done in BYU's first season in the Big 12. And honestly, had Houston not been as good as they are, there's a real case that Mark Pope probably should have been Big 12 coach of the year with as good as BYU did in their first season. There's a lot of good candidates in the Big 12 for coach of the year. Houston won this conference in their first year by 2 games. By 2 games. Kelvin Sampson was the correct pick for coach of the year.
How could you say he wasn't? I mean, how could people even dispute that?
I think most of them are just going to be the fans of that particular team and believing that their coach deserves credit, and they do. Grant McCasland has done an incredible job in his first season at Texas Tech with the year that they've had.
But they've just
finishing as a top 4 seed. I get all these things. And I think some of it's like, we don't give enough credit oftentimes to coaches and teams when they do the thing that they're kind of supposed to do. And now, but I don't think anyone realistic thought like, yes, Houston's going to win the Big 12 by 2 games. Like if you just said before the season, like Houston's going to win the Big 12. Okay. I would have believed that. Not by 2 games.
I mean,
not almost as comfortably as it felt like they did.
I remember being at the Big 12 Media Day and in Kansas City, going through all those interviews, the head coaches interviews, and everyone was hyped about Houston. But to do what they've been able to do exceeded, I think, everyone's expectations, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think what they were able to do, especially, first year in the conference, you go 23-3, you are a top 10 ranking all season long, school record ninth straight 20-win season. That's insane in program history. They win 9 of their last 10 going into this one. I mean, it's incredible. They were also, I think weren't they undefeated at home this season as well? I mean, what the Cougars have been able to do, and I'll have to double check that, but I was reading up on some stuff that they were yeah, went undefeated on the home court during the regular season. So that's wild. I mean, it's incredible what they've been able to do. And I know what you're saying, to the point other coaches or other head coaches have done a phenomenal job. It's just in the same year that he's done so well and what he's been able to build. When they were here in Kansas City, I think it was maybe a season ago, they were playing against Miami and getting to kind of get familiar with the team, knowing that they were coming in the conference. Very cool to see what's been able to happen in such a short time frame and what they've been able to accomplish. So yeah, other teams deserve credit as well, but I think he's just exceeded all expectations for what the Big 12 had. And like you said, hardest basketball conference. And it's always been Kansas's to lose. And this year it's just not the storyline.
It's not just that they won it by 2 games and finished 15-3 in conference. Remember, they started 1-2 in conference play.
Another good note, yeah. Yeah.
So they went 14-1 the rest of the way.
From home.
14 of their last 15 games were wins.
Yeah, it's nuts to see. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see how things go in KC. I'm curious. I feel like this is a chance for, not to like take us off on a tangent and correct me, but Kansas has a chance to really do something special here if they can get it together. They have a home crowd advantage. They can find a way, because this is just an uncharacteristic like season, and hopefully this is the chance for them in the tournament to get a little momentum rolling and look more like a Bill Self-coached team.
They have roster issues from injuries and just depth of talent and a complete lack of bench that, like, could they make a run? Sure. I mean, they call it Hilton South for a reason, and Kansas might not have to go through Iowa State. Might not. Texas or Kansas State could pull out that upset. The bracket is interesting. And I think we should talk about it. Houston, obviously the number 1 overall seed. Iowa State finished the 2 seed, Baylor the 3, Texas Tech the 4. Houston will await. So day 1, Oklahoma State versus UCF in the 12 versus 13. West Virginia, Cincinnati in the 11-14. That one will be fun. That starts Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Then we get BYU versus the winner of Oklahoma State UCF, Oklahoma TCU, Kansas State Texas, Kansas versus the winner of Cincinnati West Virginia. So Kansas's route will have to begin by beating West Virginia or Cincinnati, and then go through Baylor.
Survivor 46 is here, and so is On Fire, the only official Survivor podcast, and we have a twist this season. The winner of Survivor 45, Dee Valladares, will be joining us every week.
We're going behind the scenes of the biggest moments, the how and the why things happen, and the strategy and analysis you can only get from someone like me, a Survivor winner.
Listen to On Fire, the official Survivor podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
I look at this and say, Houston's the best team in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City is a different animal, and this is not a like now they're going to get a real lesson in what Big 12 is like. But like, there's a reason that there's a Hilton South shirt from Charlie Hustle. There's a reason that we call it Hilton South. Like, Kansas always has a large showing. Kansas State always has a decent showing. Iowa State always has a ton of fans in Kansas City. This is why teams from Texas are always like, why don't we move it around? Because whenever it's been moved around, like, no one ever shows up. But when it's in Kansas City, it is a packed house. So they're not going to move it. If you don't like it, tough. I think the bracket sets up interesting because I feel like as good as Iowa State is this year, I think as well as those fans are going to show up, I actually think this tournament is Iowa State's to lose.
Really?
It's not going to be Kansas State's going to that first game between either Texas or Kansas State is going to be interesting. But then they're going to play probably either Kansas or Baylor. No offense to West Virginia or Cincinnati. I feel good about Iowa State against either of those teams in Kansas City. And then they're going to wait. I mean, probably Houston. Like, Houston's just playing so dang well. Could Texas Tech knock them off? Maybe. It's a neutral site situation. But I feel like Iowa State, as well as that fan base shows up, as well as Iowa State always plays in this tournament. With Iowa State, talk about brackets. Most projections right now still have Iowa State as a 3 seed. I think Iowa State has a lot to play for because I think they have a 2 seed to play for. I think the 2 line is available to them if they make a run through Kansas City and win a couple games there. Because at that point, your wins would be over teams like, most likely, Kansas, maybe a Texas, right? It's another tournament team, or a Kansas State team who's trying to get in. Kansas or a Baylor, there's another quad 1 win. A Houston or a Texas Tech, or maybe someone pulls off an upset. Maybe BYU finds a way to go on a wild run. I think this is actually Iowa State's tournament to lose.
Okay. I can get behind that. And like you said, they travel well. I mean, I feel like it's always, it's K-State and Kansas, but Iowa State as well. I will even put Oklahoma State within that same kind of realm. A lot of those Pokes fans, and no hate to anyone who's a big Pokes fan. I don't have any hate against the school, but your fans are very, very annoying sometimes. They travel really well. And here's the thing. Again, Oklahoma State, I have no beef against you. I have no reason to have beef against you. But I remember specifically being right in front of T-Mobile Center, going live multiple times. And so many of those little Pokes fans just popping in my shot, doing that little go Pokes or whatever thing that they do with their little gun shots and bang, bang, chick, bang, bang, whatever. And I was always just like, get out of my shot. So that's a little vendetta I personally have against them. But they travel well. I will give them credit. They travel well. And you said at Iowa State as well. They always got those little suspenders on running around. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Those Iowa State suspenders running around, half naked in the cold with nothing underneath it, but they're showing up. So they got the support. I agree with you too, though. Cyclones look good. They've looked good. They've looked good this season, and I think I see Houston coming away with it just because of how hot they've been going into this. Now that's the scapegoat kind of answer, so I'm not really making anything that anyone else couldn't tell you off the internet. But yeah, Iowa State's right up there underneath them. Maybe Texas Tech falling. I'm thinking of how everything pans out after this. Maybe Texas Tech is the one who falls third in this tournament. I want Kansas to do well personally just because it looks good for people locally, but I don't see them being able to figure things out. Baylor, maybe? A Baylor up there? Do you see Baylor doing pretty well, finishing here, maybe third or fourth in the tourney, and then seeing how things pan out and when brackets come out? But that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I get what you're saying on Iowa State, but I really do think Houston's going to run away with this one. Now watch me get wrong. Who knows?
Texas Tech wins it all. But look, would it surprise anybody if Houston won it? No. I don't think it would surprise anybody if Iowa State did. Would it surprise us if Kansas found a way to make a run, at least to the championship game? No. It's always a fun tournament. It's always a wide open tournament. It's always an exciting tournament. History says Kansas or Iowa State win this more often than not. I don't feel comfortable in asking Kansas to win 1, 2, 3, 4 games in 4 days. Maybe they could. I just don't feel like the depth is there, and this is just not a great Bill Self team. It's just not. I'm sure they'll fix that for next year. Like Baylor can make a run. I feel like this is a big one for Iowa State, and I feel like as good as they are this year, and I understand you lost to Kansas State on the road in the season, and it was blah 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 blah. You weren't winning the Big 12. It didn't matter. I think Iowa State. I think that's the team. If I'm picking a team to win it, I think I'm going to pick Iowa State. They always perform well here. I think they have a lot on the line. I think a deep run would help them get up to a 2 line. Kansas State and Oklahoma are the other 2 teams of interest to me because I think Oklahoma is in the tournament as of today. I do. I think you probably should beat TCU. I think that would be a good thing for you, and then losing to Houston would be fine. Oklahoma has not been great down the stretch here in conference play. They're 20-11, but they've lost. They've won what? 2 of their last 5, or last 7. 2 of the last 7, and one of those was a incredible at the buzzer game-winning 3 at Oklahoma State, and then a home win over Cincinnati. So Oklahoma's on a bit of a slide. It would benefit them to beat TCU in Kansas City, get a little win to make them feel a little bit better before facing off against Houston. I mean, it'd be great if they could beat Houston as well. I'm not gonna pick that, but I think Oklahoma definitely needs to beat TCU to feel like they might be a little more comfortable on Selection Sunday. We talked about Iowa State and the fight to try and get to a 2 seed. The other team is Kansas State. 10 seed in this, opening up against a Texas team who could. Texas is, when we get to picking up brackets, Texas could lose in the first round. Texas could make a deep run. That's the problem with this roster. It's the same thing I'm going to have with like BYU. BYU may end up in Salt Lake City to open up, which would be absolutely incredible for them if they can get to that 5 line, which I think they are right now. Kansas State definitely feels like I'm not saying you have to win the tournament to get in. Mm-hmm. You need to pick up a few wins here because they are like next 4 out in a lot of stuff. And we can argue about whether or not they should if we do some blind resume stuff against some other teams that are from other conferences that are in. The non-conference stuff is coming into play for the Big 12. I don't think it should impact as much as it does, but c'est la vie, whatever. It's fine. I get it. Kansas State needs to do a lot of work. I don't feel comfortable at that for Kansas State because that means probably winning 2 games. But that's the team to say, like, if there's a team that could do themselves the most favors outside of Iowa State, it's Oklahoma and Kansas State here in Kansas City.
Yeah, and I mean, K-State, after what they did last season, Jerome Tang filling in some big shoes and being able to get them to where they were with the talent that they had. I really expected maybe, and I'm not saying that they did poorly, but I expected a little bit. I understand you have to rebuild, but I expected a little bit more, dare I say. Is that maybe the best way to say it out of the Cats this season? But you're right. They're playing for a lot. They have a lot on the line, and this is a good opportunity for them to be able to do so. Again, we mentioned it 1,000 different times. They have a little bit of that home crowd advantage, so this would be a time to be able to bolster things up. But you were saying it before we got on here, which kind of blew my mind when I was looking through bracketology of everything. How many Big 12 teams are seated in March Madness? Like, this is insane. And it's just, it feels like the one year that basically every Pac-12 school got to go. That was a couple seasons ago. And that kind of is how it feels now again. The fact that, I mean, we've known this for a while, how well Big 12 does, but just to see so many teams that we're talking about the tournament, right? We're talking about the fact that, like, we're trying to seed them amongst some of the top, right? The top tier who are going to be going into March Madness. So not the end all be all if K-State can't do what we want them to be able to do. But yeah, like you said, they have a great opportunity to do so, get a better seeding, be in a better position for where we find out that they'll be in March Madness, potentially, if that's what happens. So it's cool to see that we're talking about so many of these teams and how good they've been able to do, and how potentially a lot of these teams that we're going to see in the tournament, although they might not continue in this tournament in Kansas City, we're going to continue to see them play in March Madness.
Looking at Jerry Palm's latest bracket that was updated Sunday morning at 9:02 a.m., he has Houston as a 1, Baylor as a 2. I don't understand it. Someone has to help me understand it. I don't.
Okay.
I don't understand that one. Iowa State as a 3, Kansas and Iowa State both as 3 seeds. Kansas is getting a lot of favoritism based off the fact that they're non-conference. No, it's not. Kansas has a good non-conference strength of schedule. It is benefiting them a lot when you look at projections for seeding in the tournament. They have BYU as a 4. Hello, Salt Lake. Texas Tech as a 5. Scrolling down. TCU and Oklahoma and Texas all as 9 seeds. So have all those teams in. Like, everyone's got something to play for. To me, the biggest one is BYU making sure they stay on that 4-5 line, so they can get out to Salt Lake. That would benefit them greatly. And Iowa State, to me, doing well enough in the tournament where they just have to go, like, we can't knock them off the 2 line. They finished second in the best conference in the country. And they went to Kansas City and won the conference championship. They're going to be a 2 seed. And I understand we have to look at Arizona, who is really good, and North Carolina, who could end up being a 1 seed, and Tennessee and Marquette. I don't understand Baylor here. Creighton's going to have an argument. There's a lot of teams who have an argument for that 2 seed. I think if Iowa State does go and win in Kansas City, like, maybe they're a 3, but like I'm going to have a hard time understanding the argument for keeping them off the 2 line if you're going to be the second best team in the regular season, and the best team in the tournament, and the best conference in the country. So
Well, here's the good thing. If you come to Kansas City and you just go like 5 minutes to the other side and you cross the state line, you can place any bet on all these teams, you know? You you can make a bet on your Iowa State and just go ahead and place your bet right there and say that the Cyclones are going to come away, and I'll collect the money for you and I'll bring it back to you. Or we can just I don't know what if you guys are sponsored by anything, but you can whatever apps that the people app it on. Come on over here and you come into this. I know in Missouri we can't technically, but cross the state line and get your bets in on the Cyclones.
I'll put it in the girls' college fund instead. Just I feel more comfortable. I'm not a good gambler. I do not do a good job. So
I don't even know how to. That sounds really pathetic, but forever, here's the thing, forever we weren't allowed to, like legally as media, if you got a credential, you're not allowed to do certain things and you weren't allowed to bet. And then it became a thing where you could, and then it became a thing where you could in certain states. And I'm just like, I really don't have much. I mean, you know how it is in the media. I really don't have many dollars to lose. So I'm not. No, thank you.
Yes, us and the very wealthy media. Oh, man.
We're just rolling in it.
Oh man. Okay. It feels like a good spot to call it. Man, there's so much to talk about. There's so much going on, and I don't know how to get to all of it. At the moment, Big 12 Wrestling Championship still going on. Iowa State with a 7-point team lead. Iowa State's going to win this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Iowa State's going to win the Big 12 Wrestling Championship, which is going to be great because Charlie Hustle's producing the conference champion shirts this year. So Iowa State's going to get themselves a nice Iowa State Big 12 Wrestling Champion t-shirt that'll be out. I don't know when they'll drop it, but they did a great one for volleyball for Texas and football for Texas. So they'll have a great one I know they're doing a wrestling one. So Iowa State's going to get one at Charlie Hustle. So you'll have to check that out at charliehustle.com. Do us a favor. Check out every podcast in the network at 1012network.com, TEN, the number 12, the word network.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1012network. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at 1012pod. Of course, we're on YouTube as well. If you're listening on YouTube, great. If you're listening on Apple or anywhere else that allows you to leave a review or rating, leave us a rating. 5 stars, please. Leave us a review. It really does help the show out. We'll be back on Thursday.
Oof. We'll
talk some softball. But before we do that, Hayley, thank you so much for hopping in tonight. Really do appreciate it. You're going to have fun in Kansas City. For those who want to find out what you're doing while you're there at the tournament, or maybe you got some cool videos from the Charlie Hustle pop-up shop, where can they find all of that?
Yeah. You got to send me your order too. Let me know what you want me to snag you when I go in. But you can find everything at Hayley Lewis _ on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. I am on all the socials. I'm even threading. I've learned how to thread. So if you want to join me there, I'm not that great at it, but I'm trying. I no longer tweet. I get on the X. So yeah, join me anywhere. I'll be at the tournament as well all week, be doing a lot of collabs with the Big 12, doing some stuff, showing you the insides and the ins and outs of what's going on for the tournament, as well as the Charlie Hustle pop-up. And we got DJ Diesel, or to call him. So I'm going to be at that VIP event that we got going on Saturday. If you guys are at the Kansas City Power and Light District, hit me up, let me know. Would love to say hello from the DJ booth. Is that where I'll be? Who knows? It's gonna be a party though. So lots of fun stuff. And like you said, man, hey, I hope you keep your head on, because we're rolling into the thick of it, and hopefully we're talking here when March Madness rolls around and we got a little bit more understanding of what's going on after Sunday selection.
I've got to start like off-season football prep, because I've got some show ideas that I've pitched to some people we like to bring on. And they're like, yeah, we'd be great. Let's do that. When do you want to do that? And I go, this is still more of like idea bubble forum than it is actual data written down into a Google spreadsheet for me to be able to like make articulate or well thought out points. They're more just like brain dumps that sound like good ideas. So yeah, I love March Madness. I'm also looking forward to like being through it so that I can do some other things as well. And so I'm just gonna enjoy it. I'm looking forward to Selection Sunday. It's always a great time. I can't wait to hear all 9. Maybe some magic happens. We have 10 Big 12 teams, but looking forward to it. We'll be following all your coverage, Hayley. You do a great job. Appreciate you joining us again. Everyone go give Hayley a follow, give us a follow, leave us a rating, review. Charlie Hustle, other things to name drop here. We'll be back on Thursday to talk softball. Don't ask me who's going to be with us because if we do, it won't happen, but we'll talk to you then.
Social Podcast Network.